Do you ever need to convert numbers into words in Google Sheets? In today's video, I'm going to show you 3 different ways to integrate this into your Google Sheets. The first option with the most features is by using a script, and then you can simply refer to it by that function name in the Google Sheet anywhere that you need that to work, and it works seamlessly from this script in the back end. The second option, if you cannot use a script or you just want to use a formula, I have a formula right here. And then the third option is we incorporate that formula into a name function, so that way you don't have to have that big formula everywhere you go, and you can use it using something simple like this. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to incorporate it into some text like this with the number and then that formatted number as text. So the first option is using a script. So I have a link in the description below where you can copy and paste this script. And then on the Google Sheet, go to Extensions and App Script. And if you do not already have a script, it's going to create one. And then when this has populated, go ahead and clear out this empty function and paste in that script. And then if you want to adjust that function name, you can do that right here. So you can add number 2 words, whatever you want to do there. And then when you're done, you can go ahead and make sure to save this project. And you can name this as well if you like, but you do not have to. And then once this is in here and saved on the Google Sheet, now you can refer to that function. And so there's our number words. And then our first input is the actual number. So you can type the number directly into the cell, or you can select a cell just like that. And then the optional parameters you can use is if you want to add currency style, meaning adding dollars and cents. And then if you want to capitalize the words. And so if you don't want to do either of those, you can just hit enter just like that. And then if you want to use multiple cells, you can just do like this, C5 through C9, and then it'll automatically fill in just like that. And then we can come back in here if you want to add either of these. So we can add currency style by saying true, and now adds dollars and cents where appropriate. And then if you want to capitalize the words, you can add true again, just like that. And now it capitalizes those words. If you wanted just the capitalization and not the dollars and cents, then you would do false and true, just like that. The next option is to use a formula. And so I have an example formula here. Now it does not handle decimal places, but you could try running this through AI to see if it can adjust it for you. So again, you can check out the link in the description below to make a copy of this sheet, and then you can copy and paste this formula. So when you have this formula in here, you can simply replace this C5 with whatever cell that your data is in, and then you can drag this around as well, and it will automatically fill those and populate accordingly. Now you can kind of hack this a little bit. So we could wrap this with proper, and this will capitalize our numbers. And then if you do just have whole numbers, you could even add something in the end here. We could do an ampersand dollars, just like that. Now I've not capitalized the dollars yet, so I could either capitalize the dollars here and or I could wrap it in that proper. Either one works, and then I can drag this down. And now we do at least have that capitalization and dollars in, even though we have to do it a little bit more manually. So next, let's look at converting this formula into a name function. And so we're going to go ahead and copy this formula. And then we're going to go under data and named functions and add a new one. So I can call this convert numbers as an example. And then here we can just say convert numbers into text. And then for our placeholders, this could be input or input number, whatever we want to do there. I'm just going to do this and then hit enter. And then once it's there, we're good to go on that regard. And then I can paste that formula in here. And then I need to come up here and change the C5 into input num. And it needs to be the exact same as there. And so you can see it changed colors to match that. And so at that point, we can come down here and click on next. And then optionally, we can add some other stuff here, or we can go ahead and click create. And so now I can refer to that name function just like I did with the script. And so we just do convert numbers, and then our input number again here. I can just select that cell, and now it's converting it just like that. And then I can drag it down again in the same way. So if I wanted to add that proper and so forth in this, again, I could do it outside of this, and I could do proper just like this. And then I could add our dollars here at the end as well. Then we can drag this down, and we have the combo of that. So finally, let's look at an example of how to use this in some text. And so as an example, you may be using this in a contract. And so I have the contract amount here. Now it could be in a different tab. And so in that case, instead of here being C4, it'd be whatever that other tab was. So for example, other tab, and your notation would look just like that with the tab name inside single quotes, exclamation point, and then that cell where that number is. And so what I'm doing here is I'm repeating the number in both number and as a word. And so if that's how you want to do it, then you do it just like this. And so the way you combine this is you do an equals, because we're making a formula here. And then you can put whatever text you want inside double quotes, just like this. And then I'm combining it with a function using these ampersands at the beginning and end. And so then in here, we're adding a space, and then we're wrapping our words inside these parentheses. And so here then we can use our call to either our script or our named function. So currently it's referring to our script, which is number words. We could change it to that convert numbers, and we do that just like this. Now our convert numbers doesn't support those extra options, and so we do just like that. So now I do have a different option over here with the decimals, because in this first one, it doesn't handle those decimals inside this text function. So if you've ever done this text function, converting numbers to a formatted number, so for example, adding that $, and then this is your digits there. The unfortunate part is if you add this period, it's always going to show up. So for example, you could do something like this, but if you get rid of those decimal places, you will still see that period. So that's the only unfortunate part there. And so in this case, I had two different cases for one without a decimal place and one with. And so let's go ahead and reset this for now, because one thing to keep in mind as well is if this was 60 and you had them like this, then it's only going to show that 0.6, which really isn't how we want that to be displayed. So as a hybrid alternative, if you want to be able to handle both, then what you need to do is a if statement and find out if rounding G4 is equal to G4. And if so, then you could do that simplify one, which would be text G4, and then our $, and then this would be for our thousand separator comma, and then comma for that true or false. And then we could do it just like that. So now at this point, if I get rid of those decimal places, now it's rounding down to this one instead of showing that decimal place. So let me know down in the comments below how you're using this in your own projects and any adjustments that you have made to adapt it to your own use. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day.